This is WGEO Breaking News with news anchor Dory Lou.
Hello, my name is Stephen Bartholomeww Wesslah Jr. III, reporting for WGEO News. Dory Lou found a man of her own and has taken some time off. Geographics Media and the Our Content Podcast have announced the release of Melodious Catalyst Part 2, starring Big J the Artist as Jester Davis Coltrane and Step Cyncere Wizdumb as Aloysius Monk. The duo has asked that if you hear this sound, please turn the pages of your mind to reflect upon the emotional, the social, the individual effect that music has played in each of your lives. Thank you. And now, our feature presentation.
I'm a liar, barely feel remorse. I'm a cheater, letting my nature take its course.
Let's go. Jay, what's good?
What's up, man? How's it going?
Man, everything is lovely, bro. Here we are again with Melodious Doggone Catalyst Part 2. This is Our Content Podcast. He's Big J the Artist. Me. My name is Step, aka Cyncere Wizdumb, the energetic enigma from E-Town. Back at you one more time. And when we left off, we was talking about how music has been so much to us in our life. So Jay, our last episode, B, he was talking about how you were going to just really reflect on music and how we have utilized music in our personal lives to just do certain things in our life. As I said last episode, you were thinking deeply. Your mind was spinning, and you came with it. So, hey, let's get into it again, my friend. This is part 2. Kick it.
Well, as an artist, man, I have to say, when I'm creating visual art, most of the time there's some type of musical accompaniment with it. There's some type of music that's getting me in the right vibe, in the right mood to start working on my visual art. That normally comes first. That's a lot of times that's my inspiration to even start drawing something is music. I have something in mind and it just sticks in my mind. I turn it on and I turn it up and I just put it on repeat most of the time and it just gets me going. So music is a motivational tool for me.
That's real.
And it gets me going. It gets my creative juices flowing, and it just puts me in that right frame of mind to get going and just to be creative. It's at my heart. I am a visual artist. I'm an artist in a few other disciplines as well, but mostly visual art. But that music has always been like that. It's been that hand in hand symbiotic type relationship when it comes to visual art for me. So that's just where I'm at with it, man. I take it, I drink it in, and then I use it, bro. How about
I,
you,
re-
bro?
I just want to go back to you, and I remember how when we used to be set up in your room, and you would be drawing stuff, and you would be just creating. I remember there was always just a dope soundtrack going on in the
Mhm.
background. I remember seeing your brain just react differently to uh what you were doing as far as your visual art. I
Mhm.
remember when Fear of a Black Planet came out, Public Enemy's album,
Yeah.
and you were frantically drawing once Night
Mhm.
Train came on. Don't look out for the night train. And I remember you wasn't expecting that, and you stopped drawing and looked like it frightened you at first, and then you started laughing and went back to drawing frantically because we were laughing profusely at that because Flavor Flav is just the dopest. And but I with music with me, I don't know, it just always felt good to me, depending on what it was.
Mhm.
You actually were the person that, but besides the teachers and stuff that we had, you were the person that made me understand what being creative was all about, because you've always been so fearless in your creative space.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching you draw, and I remember you listening to a lot of hip hop and coming up with your mom and your sister, your brother. You the little brother, and so you were all quiet and didn't make a lot of noise. So I remember being just amazed at the fact that you were into hip hop the way that you were, and you were even on a higher level than I was as far as listening to hip hop, because I felt I fell into the mold of just kind of listening to what was popular, even though I really didn't care much for it.
Really, Step?
But you had such an eclectic uh collection of hip hop. You actually introduced me to Daylaw. As a matter of fact, I wasn't listening to Daylaw like that, but you introduced me to Daylaw. You introduced me to Native Tongue, actually.
Wow.
The low end theory.
Wow.
You and I started really hanging out tight. We were in high school and the low end theory was out. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember you had the album and we looked inside the album cover and it was just these dope photos of these guys. And
Mm-hmm.
we really took it in. And
Right.
music just really started affecting my mind in a way that helped me be more creative. It helped me become more fearless. And then when the crew started assembling the way that it did, that was
Mm-hmm.
it. That
Right.
was it, because we were a whole bunch of like-minded, fearless, creative, talented guys, whether it was music, visual art, poetry, fashion, whatever. We just became fearless in the type of stuff that we did. In fact, our hip hop affected how we dressed. Now, as big of fans we were in Native Tongue, we didn't walk around with dashikis and stuff on, but we had, beads. We had, we were backpackers. Still,
Mm-hmm.
we still are, I think, to a certain degree.
Right.
And fashion really was a big thing with hip hop. I remember when I remember Check the Rhyme, you were really adamant about showing us that Q-Tip looked like a college student. He had on this denim shirt, these shorts, he got on these Tims, dressy Tims, and these casual looking Tims. And we really understood then that hip hop to us was a feeling, it was a mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And we started moving forward into the cultures we still are today. We still preppy dressed hip hop kids, even though we're grown men. But the positivity that we just soaked up from the music that we listened to, and as I mentioned in the last episode, all of the stuff out wasn't positive. We just gravitated towards that. So
Exactly.
that's how music was to me. And then, as you stated, we were some band geeks, man. We were band kids that made it cool to be band kids.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned last episode that you wanted to just go back and oh God, I'm anxious to see what's gonna happen here. You wanted to go back and just reflect on some band memories, and I got one right now that Bartholomeww is gonna love. Oh, he gonna love it. But I got I got to bring it up. When he hears this, he might make a call, and Bartholomeww is
Hello?
Bartholomeww is he'll bully you if you let him, man. I said it, Buff. We love you, man, but we know we gonna get a call if you disapprove with this story I'm gonna tell. But what do remember from those days?
I mean, band was like it was like the perfect storm. Band class, marching band, all that was just the perfect storm because the timing of us being in band together and what music was like at that time for us, uh, it was just like the perfect storm. It was like the stuff we were listening to and trying to incorporate into the band performances and stuff like that. We didn't get a chance to do uh, 1/4 of the stuff that we would have wanted to do because a lot of it was an uphill battle. Even though we did win some of those battles and getting the stuff that we wanted to play in like pep rallies and games and stuff like that. But I would just say that band class was the perfect place for us to be expressive because music, like we said before, music was that one thing that truly unified all of us. And then on top of that, we were all in freaking band class. So that was crazy because we was exchanging tapes, like Walkman, Sony Walkman. We had the big I had those big cost headphones. So I always had like some kind of tape or something on me with a backpack, and it was just the fact that we were in a class that was for music, and we were able to play music, but then we were actually listening to a lot of other stuff. Uh, Not even behind the scenes. That's just what we were listening to outwardly. People knew that's what we were about, and then it was like the music was a music of learning new things, intelligence, aspirational music, where we're wanting to be better than what we are today, wanting to be better, tomorrow, wanting to be good for our community, just wanting to be good individuals and loving individuals and responsible. Dare I say, at the time, revolutionary, maybe even a little rebellious individuals, but our struggles in band class uh, kind of mirrored some of that because some of it was the fact that the stuff we were listening to kind of made us a little militant too. But so we were looking at some things. We were looking at some things in that way because that's what we were kind of we had engulfed ourselves in, like Public Enemy and stuff like that. But the thing I loved about it was, speaking of native tongues, was just that creativity. That's the thing I loved about them. Those guys were just like they were just poets at heart, and whether they were actually rhyming over a beat, they would have been doing some form of poetry. I mean, Q-Tip was an abstract poet, so it's like
Right.
it is very poetical, and poets tend to be very in tune with their feelings and their emotions, and also they have a certain sense of social responsibility. I've been to some poetry slams and things of that nature, and it's a big there's a lot of call to social responsibility being discussed in a lot of poetry, and so that was a big part of it too. So we were taking it upon ourselves, partially because of some of the music we were listening to and books we were reading and stuff
Right.
we were watching on TV and stuff like that. There was this whole movement of expressions of blackness, so to speak, positive expressions of blackness. You had Spike Lee was doing his movies, and you had a different world was on TV and Cosby Show and stuff like that, and then all of those things and so many more things had this soundtrack that was that was just deeply in jazz and hip hop, and those are two of the things that we were really on at that time, and so it was just this whole we just had this whole influence of media that was just giving us all these positive vibes and wanting us to us wanting to be expressive and positive and productive human beings as a result of it, and not to mention, guidance counselors, parents, people at school and in our community. On top of that, people at church, so we had all these positive influences, and we had it set in our minds and our hearts that we were going to express these things and we were going to embody these things and be
Right.
some positive people. Sometimes if we had to buck against the establishment, we would do that. If it was something we didn't agree with in class, in school, or just in life, just wherever, we spoke out about it, and we had each other's backs. So the music was just it was the soundtrack to just a wonderful time. And for those who don't know how old we are, we're talking 90s. We're talking early to mid 90s, and so late 80s really, but early to mid 90s, and so it was such a beautiful creative time. I mean, in band class we used to get those headphones, man, and like take turns listening to certain things in the headphones, or somebody would have a boom box. Somebody had a boom box. I forgot who it was. It probably was you.
It was not
But
me. I never
somebody
walked
had a boom
around.
box.
I never walked around like Radio Raheem, B. That
But
was not me.
somebody in the drum line had a boom box though.
Probably Bubba L. I don't
Probably so.
rem- I don't remember. I do remember that Bartholomeww used to hijack the office. It puts the office in the band room and put in cassettes, ladies and gentlemen, cassettes or CDs, and
Mm-hmm.
have everything blaring out. One day I walked in there, he was playing Whirlwind Pyramid real loud, and
Wow.
transform.
Spice One.
Oh, shout out to Spice One. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he was a heavy rotation. One of the most slept on rappers I think of all time is Spice One. I mean, I like Spice One. Welcome to the
Yep.
ghetto, because they were telling stories. Now
Yeah.
we were talking about the unifying power of hip hop, of hip hop, of music in general, and you were talking about using music as a tool on our last episode. But the stuff that we listened to was unifying. You could listen to Spice One, and he could take you on a journey to Oakland,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Mm-hmm.
just you can just visualize what
Yeah.
he's talking about. And to this day I still go back and listen to some of his stuff. Of course I liked Hammer because
Mm-hmm.
he was happy. It was happy music, and you could dance, and you could really blow off some steam and have fun. And as DJs, I used to love playing stuff like that because it would take the crowd to a different
Yep.
level. You know what I'm speaking of, music with Hammer and this, that, and the third. But riding and just hanging out at night, or at the car wash where we used to hang out at too, just hearing Spice One or hearing PE, even NWA, all of these, all of this music kind of glued us together because we were the kids that was listening to everything at some point. And sometimes we would get alienated because we listened to different stuff,
Mm-hmm.
because we weren't listening to the norm, because I had got out of the whole, okay, everybody else kind of listening to this, so it must be dope, even though it's really not to me. Some people like it, some people don't. And we started trying new stuff as we are to this day. It was a tool for unity. It was a catalyst, if you will, in a lot of cases, to social change. So we,
Right.
the stuff that I went up against, and I'm not going to just delve into it like that, but as drum major, some of the stuff that I went through, for as some of the racism that I just told you about just maybe a year or two ago, some of the real stuff that was going on. A 17-year-old kid shouldn't have had to endure all that stuff, but it was the music that I listened to that's told me, hey, you got to stand. You have to stand, and whatever you're going to go through, you're going to go through. And you made it to this point for a reason. It was some ugly stuff at that. And so, one day I might write a book and talk about it. But I mean, these were grown behind people that had nothing to do with us or band at all. Just people wanting to be hateful and scare us away. But I was happy that the village that we had, B, was strong
Mm-hmm.
enough to hold us up, to keep us up. And the music that was fueling us with such positive energy helped us create in our spirit something so strong and fearless that we didn't care about what was happening as long as we was doing stuff the right way. And to this day it's the same thing. We had music that talked about drugs or some misogynistic music as well, but it wasn't our bag. That wasn't us. And we took in the stuff that built us up as not only individuals but as a people. And it transcended our blackness to just people, period.
Mm-hmm.
We have an eclectic group of people in our lives, B. And that's a testament to our beliefs spiritually, and also to the music that we took in. So you are what you eat. So if you eating all of this positive energy, then you're going to regurgitate positive energy. So I'm proud and
Yep.
happy that the stuff that we chose and the music that we took were catalysts to us as individuals and to the changes that we try to make in society as a whole. Now, I realized how powerful band was when and what we were doing as a
Mm-hmm.
crew, and because it got to the point where we didn't even ask. We just Ruck do this, Bubba L do this, Chris do this,
Mm-hmm.
Bartholomeww this, Zach this, Jay this, I this. We just did it. We
Mm-hmm.
didn't ask for. We got to the point we didn't ask for permission. We just represented who we were. We positive kids. We got the grades. We can just have fun. And I got called to the principal's office, and I thought I was in trouble. And I was trying to think, what did I do to get in trouble this time? And he called me in and he said to me, "You really know how to get the crowd into what you're doing. You make people feel what y'all are doing." And we was having a pep rally, and he said, "I want you to do what you do. Don't worry about anything else. Just do what you do." And I still have a picture
Mm-hmm.
of me after that talk at that pep rally. Bubba L is in the background on it playing his heart out, and I'm just doing what drum majors do, and nobody had ever seen that in our area before. And so it was just, that's when I realized, like, wow, this music thing is kind of deep. It is kind of deep. So as I got older and started reading more and looking more, and once I got into graduate school, oh, it was on steroids at that point. I started really understanding how media as a whole does so much to shape society. And when it's really positive, I mean, there's a divide. We did
Mm-hmm.
not talk about music is also a catalyst for division,
Oh yeah.
depending on what you're listening to. So I was in Jamaica. I got off the plane. I had on a white t-shirt. It was
Mm-hmm.
hot. So I got off the plane. I had on a regular white tee. I'm walking through, and all these Jamaican kids that were in the airport were just throwing up the A. And I was thinking, what is this about? And then it dawned on me at that point in time when I was there, a lot of the rappers that from our, the Atlanta area that was on TV, the white tees were the thing. So you were
Yep.
either from Atlanta or New Orleans, shout out to Cash Money. That, shout out to No Limit.
Mm-hmm.
Those white tees were synonymous with those particular areas. That's powerful to me.
Mm-hmm.
That is such a powerful thing to me. Because if we can listen to hip hop, and I see that our conversation is going more towards hip hop because I guess that's who we are. Yes, we have the jazz influence. Yes, we have the gospel influence. But even jazz nowadays, or even gospel nowadays, everything has now a hip hop base. It's
A
it's
lot of
it's
it.
a lot of it has, the hard hip hop base. I'm beats. I'm hearing a while back, I'm hearing gospel music with trap beats because they're trying to, reach that different audience, which is genius to me because when people hear it a lot, it's reaching people in some form or fashion. It really is. So those band years, looking back on them, I learned a lot, B. I
Mm-hmm.
learned a lot. We went through a lot, but we stood for something. We stood for a lot. And
Yeah, we
you
did.
know, shout out to the crew. Shout out to Bartholomeww, to Zach. Shout out to Bubba L. Shout out to Ruck. Shout out to Chris. Shout out to all of those people, and the ladies there too. Um, all of us played our part, and we just had so much fun doing it and being creative, and
Right.
just and we were creative. We very seldom, us being drummers, we very seldom touch sheet music until we was on the field. Everything else was
Right.
just us making up stuff.
I know. I could tell. I mean, I was lower brass, so I played baritone and
And
sousaphone,
tuba. The
tuba. So
sousaphone were real big, man. Like an
Hey
elephant
man, you
trunk.
got a big tool. You gotta have the right man to handle it, man. And I was definitely the right person to handle that at the time. I had a lot of fun playing that instrument. That instrument was very uh tough on your body when you had to march in parades and stuff like that.
Oh
But I'm
yeah.
trying to tell you that thing, uh I mean, playing a tuba will make a man out of you, bro. I'm trying to tell you.
You'll be walking around like that sousaphone player on Family Guy that be following Chris.
Hey man, we had y'all jokers though. Y'all used to play some stuff. Just making it. Well, I played by ear a lot anyway.
You sure
I knew
did.
how to read. I know how to read sheet music, but I also had my own spin on things. If I felt it was a certain way, or if I got a vibe from it, and I knew I could improv and make it a little better or jazz it up a little bit. I did it. I
You
didn't
sure
I didn't
did.
care.
You sure
And
did.
so I had fun with it. I really love playing that instrument, bro. I mean baritone too. I like playing that too. I started on trumpet, but the
I
trumpet.
did too.
Shout out to Michelle Willis, who let me play her trumpet because we could. My family we didn't have it in our budget that year I started band class to buy an instrument or rent one or whatever. And Michelle Willis had got out of band, and she had a trumpet uh, uh, at home, and somehow or another it got back to my mom or to their family, and my mom was like, "Well, Michelle says you can use her trumpet," and because I originally wanted to play saxophone, so I started playing trumpet instead. And
Shout
Mr.
out.
Mac, big shout out to Mr. Mac.
Shout out to him
Yeah,
and his wife. Shout out to them. Shout
for real.
out to them. Shout out to them, man.
Yeah.
They did so much for us.
Oh
They
yeah.
did so much for us and exposed us to so much stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
started out on trumpet as well. I should have kept playing it. I would have, all us together could have had a jazz album. Me, you, and Buffaluffagus and Zach playing that that's
Trombone.
the trombone, man. And called symphonic lessons. It's been real jazz album, man.
So some real hard drums.
So with Bubba L and Grunk on the drums, some hard drums and a real smooth sax, trumpet, jazz trumpet, tenor sax, and special guest spot. Bro, you know I would have jumped on the bell and the xylophone too. I played a lot of instruments in the drum line for real.
Love
Timpani,
xylophone.
yeah, I like them too. Well, again, let's talk about it. Xylophone was one of those things that a lot of guys didn't want to touch. Who changed that? Here come KMD with a song called Peach Fuzz. If you're the listener, look up KMD and Peach Fuzz. Grand Pooba on the xylophone with a hoodie on playing made it look fly. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
I jump on the xylophone in a minute after that, B.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, the influence that these were kids our age are not much older than us
Right.
doing things because they were creative
Right.
and they didn't
Experimental
care.
stuff.
They was experimenting with
It
so
worked.
much stuff, man,
It
and
worked.
it worked. So it really did. You know, shout
Mm-hmm.
out to good music, shout out to hip hop, shout out to the pioneers of hip hop, the pioneers of jazz, the pioneers of God. Shout out to everybody who has created music to make the world a better place.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not mad at people who have done destructive music, but the listener has to choose what he or she takes in and what he or she digests.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as geographics, as our crew, we sending a shout out to all of the people who influenced us musically, all of the melodious catalysts in our life. Uh, that has led us up to this point where we are now expressing ourselves verbally through this medium, even though I hate social media like that. but it's a necessary thing to put our voices into the world, to put some positive energy out there. I got to go back. So we were at a competition, and I forget where, but
Mm-hmm.
I intentionally did not tell y'all boys that we could change clothes after we played. So I was walking around with the fly sweater on, the fly jeans, admit this fly cutie, everything. Little dark skinned chick. I remember her to this day. We was hanging out, everybody was all cool. And I remember I remember walking up near the concession stand and you, Buffaluffagus, like the whole crew was just standing up there. I remember Buffaluffagus cussed me out, man, to a dog. Because he was like, man, you ain't tell us we could change clothes, man. You got us standing up here looking whack, man. He didn't let me live that down for a long time. But but before there was a Mitch X for me to do stuff to, there was a Buffaluffagus that I would simply do stuff to Mr. Buffaluffagus because I knew I knew he was gonna cuss me out, and I love him. I do stuff now to get him worked up. And
Yeah.
oh, I love him. I love you, bro. I love you
Oh
so much,
yeah.
bro. Yes, and he was not happy with me. He didn't talk to me for a few days. B, you remember that? You remember that?
Hey, it's Jason Thomas, aka Big J. I just wanted to say thank you all for supporting our content. We put a lot of love and effort into what we do, and I just want to say thank you all who watch us, who support us. We appreciate you guys. Thank you. Peace. Yeah, I mean, but either way, uniform or not, I still look good, so I really don't care. It's all in how you wear it, man.
No. Hey, bro, you can't make them uniforms look good. That's why I took mine
I
off.
tried to.
you
White
you
pants.
you failed miserably, bro. Those things look real cool. Hey, yo, Bubba Luffy looked real uncomfortable, man. He was standing with his legs together, man. He didn't like it at all. He really wanted it. Hey, man, Buffalo because I'm sorry, bro. Forgive me, B. I'm sorry. I know we way past that, but I had to blow up the spot with that one, bro. That was just another good memory that we have entangled with our journey through life with music.
Right.
And that's another brother who had a collection out of this world. We talked about how eclectic our musical tastes were with him. He listened to everything.
Yeah.
Listened to everything. And
Mm-hmm.
you and I did DJ, and you and I did the beat making, the studio stuff. Like we did so much stuff, but in all honesty, I'm gonna ask him why he didn't ever venture into DJing and all of that stuff, because he could have easily fit into that lane and been a trooper. Word
Right.
up.
He had all the music to do it. Cause he was getting stuff like he was the first person that I knew that would get stuff when it first came out. Like after that I met a lot of folks that did that. Then I started doing it myself, but he would actually go get something like the week that it came out, you know. And I didn't even keep up with stuff like that, but he somehow or another knew when stuff was gonna come out, and he
Right.
was just happy. I don't know if he was getting it sent to him or what, but he just always had, and he took really good care of his stuff. It was very neat. It was like
Mm-hmm.
cataloged. Everything was in order.
It sure
Those
was.
those cases we used to have, his stuff was in alphabetical order. Very neat. No strays, nothing out of order. Everything was really really well taken care of, and that shows a person who was dedicated to listening and
Right.
taking it all in. That he would catalog his stuff and just have it, take inventory and get new stuff in constantly, and then work it into the alphabetical order. The way that he had it, the way that he had it organized was just really really impressive. And because he had more stuff than we even had time to listen to. You
Correct.
know. I remember Funk Dubious, the stuff he had. Uh, back to Cypress Hill again. That
Shout out to the
I
Soul
mean,
Assassins, man.
yeah. So I mean, just all that stuff. I mean, most people knew with me it was going to be at that time it was going to be PE. It was going to be Tribe, of course, a Tribe Called Quest. To this day, a Tribe Called Quest. De
Right.
La, Arrested Development, Diggable Planets, uh, stuff like Bob Marley. Just stuff like that. That was kind of what I was on main source. Uh,
Mm.
Brand new heavies, stuff like that. So that was kind of what I was stuff that was it was very eclectic, but it was kind of in the same kind of vein, you know.
You just triggered something in me when you started talking about, Bob Marley, when you start talking about the brand new heavies and all of those groups. The music that we listen to planted something in us that made us go out and learn about other people.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't listen to a lot of Bob Marley, but the music that we listened to did. And they talked about it. So we started listening to it and it helped, and then started doing the knowledge on his life and his music and what he was up against. So it, not only did we learn a different genre of music, but we also learned more about a person. We became more educated about a whole different culture.
Mm-hmm.
Brand new heavies, the same thing. Um,
Yeah,
we started, I was listening to Dream on Dreamer about 3 days ago, B.
love that
That
song.
Oh, it's a beautiful song, right? Um,
Yeah.
we started, listening to that. So when you listen to brand new heavies, you start understanding the roots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
You start understanding all of these different bands that came up that made a contribution to hip hop. That's the Sonnet, another band in hip hop. You
Mm-hmm.
started understanding. So it's a it's amazing. It's like noodles. You can dump all of these noodles in the plate, and if these noodles are music, you can see where the different noodles touch, where the different strands of noodles touch, because they all work together in unison. It's melodious catalyst, man. The different
Mm-hmm.
melodies, the different tempos, the different notes, they all serve a purpose to make this big, beautiful symphony of
Mm-hmm.
music that has provided the soundtracks to our lives in so many different ways. Not only us, but everybody. The social change, the social unrest, whatever period of music you can, whatever's happening in history, from the Revolutionary War up until today, you can find music that goes along with those periods, man. Let me
Mm-hmm.
just say this. I got to say this because I don't think it's talked about enough. We're some Georgia guys, man. Listen here. Shout out to the late, great Jesse Norman.
Mm-hmm.
African American woman, scratch that. Black woman from Augusta, Georgia, who was an opera singer.
Mm-hmm.
I just reading along some stuff one day and listening to some opera, and she popped up, and I had never seen a black person doing opera before. So I did
Right.
the knowledge, like, who is this lady?
Mm-hmm.
Augusta, Georgia. Shout out to her. She died a while back, but I should not be from Georgia and not have and not know that.
Right.
That's not a good thing to me. So I just want to take time out right now to send her a shout out, B. Her family, her state, whatever. Send a shout out to them because she's amazing. If you get a chance as a listener, look up Jesse Norman opera and just listen to it. It's beautiful, man.
Mm-hmm.
Melodious catalyst, bro. So I would love to see other little girls and other young men um, of color to do that type of thing. It's not always about rap. It's not always about being an MC. If you got a voice, use that voice in a way that God gave it to you to use it, B. That's how I look at that. And
That's what,
Jay, or should I say, just the Davis Coltrane. You know we, bro. We got one more episode to do out of this one, bro.
mm-hmm.
We got one more episode to do out of this one. We got to do a third one. We got to do a third installment. And for those of you who want me to use my proper grammar, we have to do a third installment. It's time for us to start, for us to share how we tried to use music ourselves, how we tried to create it ourselves to touch the world, man.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we got one more out of this one, bro.
That's what's up. Before we go, I gotta give a loving shout out or memory to my dad, who honestly he put me up on a lot of music when I was a kid. Because my dad was a huge jazz
Jazz.
head, and he was a huge reggae head. Because honestly, I was hearing a lot of Bob Marley when I was 5 years old. Cause my dad used to play it a lot, and he would play a lot of that Parliament, a lot of jazz, a lot of like George Benson, Bill Withers,
Wait, stop.
stuff like that.
I hate to interrupt you. I hate to
Mm-hmm.
interrupt you. Hold your thought. But you just put an image in my head that I got to get out.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching videos last night, just old 80s videos, and I had never seen George Benson's video for Give Me the Night. Give Me the
Mm-hmm.
Night. And I was
Yeah.
laughing because he was roller skating with that guitar on, man.
He sure was.
And I kept
I just saw that video the other day too. I don't know why it popped up in my
it.
it popped up in my feed. I don't know, probably because you were looking at it or
I
something.
I
I don't know.
I said, I hope he doesn't fall with that guitar. I hope that he never fell because it looked completely dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen people do X Games stuff and it's just like that is what it is, but I was afraid for that man with that guitar skating around wherever in a park, wherever he was at. But I'm sorry about that. I had to say that, bro. Please forgive me for the interjection, man. So I'm sorry. Take two and action.
Hey man, like I was saying, shout out to my dad, man. R.I.P. I love my dad. He's a very very big music head. I inherited his album collection. I don't spend anymore, but I still have majority of my albums, and I have my entire collection of my dad's stuff, and he had some really, really, really good stuff. My dad was really into stuff that you wouldn't, a lot of people wouldn't think that he was into. I mean, when he gave me his albums, he had Nina Cherry's album in there, you know.
Oh,
And my dad just had a lot of stuff, bro. My dad was, you talk about an eclectic person. Quiet as kept, my dad was one of the illest people you will ever know because he was really 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 into like art and music and expression and stuff, and he didn't do any of that stuff, but he was really really into it,
right.
and he didn't mind if I was into it, my brother, my sister. He was very encouraging when it came to that kind of stuff. And I mean, the very first concert I ever went to was the freaking SOS band with
They,
him, and
they're
probably
they're amazing.
I may have been maybe 9 years old when I went to that, you know. So you know, it's just one of those things, man, where he was just really into a lot, not just music, but just creativity in general. Some of the movies that he took us to. I mean, he drove us to New York to see the premiere of Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal in New York. A velvet rope show where you come in and they had velvet ropes with the creatures on the walls and stuff like that. The models of the creatures that were used in the movie, and just major shout out to my dad, major shout out to my mom too. But
There you
uh,
go.
when it comes to music, I'm gonna have to give it to my dad because Stevie Wonder, uh, 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 Teddy Pendergrass, the
Mm.
OJ's, um, oh man, just so much stuff. I mean, Coltrane, Miles Davis. My dad met Miles Davis in an elevator in L.A. He said Miles Davis had on a all black trench coat with black pants, black shoes, and a black hat that looked like a sorcerer's hat or something. He was standing in the corner of the elevator, like he had his own personal shadow, you know, and so it was like the I don't want to say that, but the darkness kind of followed him around. He had his own personal shadow where it was like he knew how to be in the shadows, even in a bright sunny place like L.A. You know, in the daytime. And my dad actually said he was startled when he saw the guy in the corner because he didn't know who or what this thing was in the corner, but he looked up from underneath that hat, and he had those piercing eyes that Miles Davis had, and then my dad just kind of geeked out because he's a big jazz guy, and he started talking to him, and exchanged pleasantries, and just spoke and paid him his respect, and then went on about his way, and but yeah, I'm just there's so many stories my dad had of just being in certain places. Roy Ayers, when he was in college, his buddies, they were amongst the first group of people to actually bring Roy Ayers to Atlanta for a performance. So it's just this is just my dad was a real cool guy, man, and just a big influence on me creatively. And I remember just riding around in the car with him, just back when CDs was the thing, and I was making these mixtapes and mix CDs, and I was putting all this acid jazz and this UK jazz and stuff on, and putting them together for him. And it's just riding around, just blowing his mind, like, who was that? Who was that? And that's how we bonded, was
Right.
was through music.
The music.
As a 30-something-year-old man, uh, rebonding, with my dad as an adult, as a grown man, through something that we both loved, and that's music, man. So that's a story for another day, but I just had to say that because it was on my heart, man. I just miss my dad. So that's us, man.
And and again, you were talking about Pops and who he met, and there comes his youngest son, Big J, the artist, at portraying the role of Jester Davis Coltrane in Melodious Catalyst Part 2, sponsored by Geographic Media and the Our Content Podcast. Word up. And shout out to your mom for real, because and I'm gonna say this and then we're gonna sign it off. Your mom, she was brilliant at having
Yep.
how the house was laid out, because she had this beautiful black art, and then she would have these
Mhm.
these books with all of these different photography books
Mhm.
that were laying around. So a lot of the times when I was there, I was soaking in all of this stuff too. So your whole house, the whole
Yeah.
house that you lived in and that I was in, Buffalo, because all of us were in, it was just an artistic place. It was
Mhm.
just each room had its own little artistic flavor. So
Mhm.
hey, we soaked that stuff in like a sponge, B, because it was in all of us.
Mhm.
But it was just it was just a great place to grow up, and to just be around and just see. So shout
Yeah.
out to mom and to mommy.
Yeah. She
Shout
taught me
out to
how to
mommy.
draw. So my,
Shout
my
out to
mom taught
mommy,
me how to
man.
draw, and so
Word.
that's just the environment that I had, man. But
Right.
I'm just glad that we kept it going through our crew, and all the people that came after that. As a result of that, we had the extended crew, and all the times we had uh, either making music, spinning music, just honing our craft, or just vibing. And big shout out to the group that we did not mention that we really listened to a whole lot was Pete Rock
Pete
and
Rock and
CL
CL
Smooth.
Smooth. I've been thinking about them the whole time. I've been thinking about them. And shout out to the hieroglyphics crew. Without
Yeah,
hieroglyphics, there's no geographics, B.
you got that right.
So
Hmm.
shout out to them. Um, there will be a third episode to this, because like like my brother, Big J the artist, said, we've been talking about music is who we are, and we've touched on it, but we've never just dove into how much we love it and how much we love what we've become through music. So until the next time, keep God first, be positive, love each other, and we'll get at you next time. Peace.